Dios y mi hija me han perdonado.
God and my daughter have forgiven me.
I'm going to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On count 5, I'm going to sentence you to 8 years to run concurrent to count 1.
The case of baby Jailyn Candelario. In the stillness of the Cleveland night, Jailyn's cries echoed, pleading for aid that never came. Alone in her playpen, the toddler whimpered and wailed, unheard and abandoned. Kristel Candelario had embarked on a 10-day summer getaway, leaving her daughter Jailyn behind with only bottles of milk for company. During those agonizing nights, a neighbor's doorbell camera captured the piercing screams of the 16-month-old, including one particularly haunting cry around 1 a.m. Just 2 days into her mother's absence. Surveillance cameras showed Kristel's movements while she left Jailyn alone. On 5/24 of 6/6, Kristel was taking a suitcase and now leaving Cuyahoga County. A map and a flock camera showed her on. The car was sported in Lafayette and Charter northbound on June 6 at 20:05, which is 8:05 p.m. Through the search warrant, police were able to retrieve Kristel's Spirit airline tickets that showed her departure and her return from Puerto Rico. She was gone from June 6, 2023, to June 11, 2023. Surprisingly, in the defense memorandum, it says that her abrupt stopping of medications played a significant role in her ability to function as a parent and make sound decisions. So when police looked at these items from her phone, her actions indicated that she was in Puerto Rico having a good time with friends. And from the photos, you can tell that she cares not even a bit about the 16-month-old child who was left alone in the pack and play. These pictures showed somebody who was showing some discretion and judgment because she having a good time. Meanwhile, this child is in a pack and play starving, dehydrated, and dying while she is in Puerto Rico. The detectives were able to locate the door on the Ring doorbell that was on June 9, 2023. Around 1:04 a.m. you hear this child crying. It is so disturbing to wonder why couldn't someone help the child. She must have cried for days. Jailyn died a horrible death, and only a monster can do something like this deliberately without any sympathy or compassion for the child. All it would have taken to save the abandoned toddler would have been a single phone call, but instead, her mother simply returned to the beach thousands of miles away. Meanwhile, Candelario was far away in Puerto Rico, accompanied by a male companion, oblivious to her child's desperate pleas. After indulging in days of beachside relaxation and a detour to Detroit, her car was spotted on surveillance footage from 6:12 to 6:15 returning from Puerto Rico and back to Michigan, where she was with one man and later traveled to see another man she was seeing in Viagen, Michigan. When she returned to Cuyahoga County and was at her residence in Cleveland, Ohio on June 16, 2023 at around 7:36 a.m., her car reappeared in front of her house. She went inside the house, only to discover the devastating truth. Her daughter lay lifeless, her absence unexplained for a harrowing 10 days. She found her daughter unresponsive and took her time to change her clothes into clean ones, and then later called 911. Emergency Medical Services, EMS, responded to a call around 8 a.m. on June 16 regarding a deceased infant, later identified as Jailyn, at a residence in the 3100 block of West 97th Street. The caller, claiming to be the child's mother, reported finding the toddler unresponsive upon returning home. Upon arrival, EMS personnel discovered the child and pronounced her deceased. Police stated that there were no signs of trauma evident during the initial investigation. A preliminary examination indicated that Jailyn was severely dehydrated, the police report stated. The toddler's body was forwarded to the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office for autopsy and additional scrutiny. Officials reported that the medical examiner concluded that the child had been left alone and unsupervised for approximately 10 days, resulting in her subsequent death. Inside Jailyn's pack and play, officers found soiled blankets and a bottom liner, saturated with urine and feces, according to police. The neighbors told local news media that this wasn't the first time Jailyn was left alone in the house unattended. They advised Kristel not to continue leaving the toddler alone by herself in the house, but Kristel never took their advice. Kristel's neighbors were willing to take care of Jailyn if only Kristel had asked. The question is, was there a chance that this tragedy could have been avoided? People knew about Kristel leaving Jailyn alone, but no one came to the baby's aid when she was screaming in pain when noticed on the door camera. And just why did they not report Kristel for treating Jailyn before the worst is left to wonder? Because there were so many red flags that neighbors were aware of but decided to do nothing about.
Neighbors told me this is not the first time Candelario has left the baby home alone.
We keep telling her not to leave her by herself. Not only me, my friend across the street too, but she always be here by herself.
Neighbors told me she lives here with her 2 daughters and her parents. Her parents recently went on vacation and took Candelario's older daughter with them.
The first time they met Jailyn was last August. They were supposed to watch her only a few days, but they said her mom didn't return for a month and a half.
I was the one calling her, look, I need milk, I need money. I don't have no money to buy milk for you, baby. What am I supposed to do?
Neighbors who live along West 97th Street in Cleveland are heartbroken about what police say unfolded inside this house.
We just couldn't believe that she was gone. We were always playing with her. She was so gorgeous. And like when they told us the state that they found her in, I was heartbroken. She was like a little sister to me.
Wonderful. She was just a wonderful baby.
There were so many people here. She could have knocked on any of our doors and asked us to take care of Jailyn, and we all would have.
Police called in Kristel for an interview about what happened. She told the police lies about the child being fine.
She get a vomiting too. Remember right now when you mentioned the vomiting. She get a vomiting the last week, Monday and Tuesday, 2 times. But I was trying controlling because I know I give to her Tylenol or something, you know, for controlling the vomiting.
Okay. Come on, sir.
This
is my supervisor, Sergeant Palmer.
Pedialytic too, I give to her when she got a diarrhea or vomiting. Hola, ¿qué tal?
Soy la sargento con el
Just was refusing to do the food and she was with no appetite. I said, oh my God.
This is after last Monday and Tuesday when she was throwing up?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you talking about Monday and Tuesday like 4 days ago?
Yeah,
okay.
the last week, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because we almost done this week, so I talk about,
Because what this week?
This week. Yeah, I talk about because we almost done, you know, the
Oh, we're almost done with this week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was just Monday and Tuesday of this week. She was throwing up.
Yes.
And then how was she Wednesday and Thursday?
She was with no food, just with a meal because she was refusing. Maybe it's because she get a vomiting 2 days, before.
Yeah.
So that's why
What?
I was scary because I say, oh my God, maybe go to the hospital because she doesn't eat anything, and she was lose tiny, her weight. I lose, her weight. But right now, in this morning when I wake up, she was asleep. She sleep every day 12 hours.
Okay.
She sleep like at 8 p.m. to 9 or 10 a.m.
Okay.
12 hours. So in this morning I was sleeping too. I never wake up. She was.
What happened? What was going on last night?
Last night she was crying a lot, and I see one moment when I was take a shower, and she was screaming like I don't know, probably she get a pain.
Kristel was trying to deny the truth by indicating that she was home with Jailyn all along.
Maybe.
About what time was that last night?
Maybe at 7 or 8 p.m.
Okay.
So she was screaming like, probably for pain or something like that. In this morning when I wake up, I took her in the morning for, Jailyn, wake up, and she wake up, and when I see her, I see she looks like a really, really dry, like a, ¿cómo se dice cuando una persona se chupa, o sea, kind of like, Yeah.
Oh, like her face was sunken in?
So, yeah.
No one came forward for Jailyn from her family, even in her death. The prosecutor confirmed this sadly, and she said the following. Jailyn was found lying on a mattress covered in urine and feces. Animals take care of infants better. The thought of this child dying every day while she's having fun, humanity can't stomach that. And then later the prosecutor also said the following, just to make the record very clear. The state of Ohio has tried repeatedly to contact Jailyn's extended family, and absolutely no one has called the prosecutor's office nor has returned the call from the prosecutor's office, has done nothing to acknowledge that Jailyn was part of their family. So the people coming this morning are only on the part of Kristel Candelario. Because on the of Jailyn, in addition to Dr. Mooney, who speaks for the dead through autopsy findings, Sergeant Teresa Gomez, and Detective T. J. Powell will speak too. Dr. Mooney said that Jailyn was emaciated, with sunken eyes, dry lips, and fecal matter in her mouth and fingernails. She weighed 7 pounds less than she had at her last doctor's visit 2 months earlier. At the sentencing, forensic pathologist Elizabeth Mooney told a Cleveland courtroom that children experience the most extreme separation anxiety between 9 and 18 months. She recounted Jailyn's excruciating final days. The pain and suffering she endured lasted not only hours, not days, but possibly even a week, Mooney said, fighting back tears. This feeling of abandonment for days on end, coupled with the pain of starvation and extreme thirst, is a type of suffering I don't think any of us could ever fully fathom. When asked how it is possible for a mother to abandon a 16-month-old baby in a house, unattended, for 10 days to go on vacation, Candelario said, "The answer is a bit difficult for the rest of the world to understand, and in particular for the people who question and point out that I have committed a diabolical act, as was mentioned in court. I gave my testimony. I took the blame for my actions. I was experiencing emotional stress," she said, adding she had been experiencing relationship issues with the girl's father. However, Candelario insisted that, "My daughters have always been everything, my whole world to me," and assured that Jailyn is always in my heart and is with me wherever I go. He confessed that for a few seconds she thought about calling a family member or neighbor to check on her daughter's well-being, but "I didn't do it. No, I never did it. And it was my mistake." Candelario said her parents never knew that she had gone on a trip and had abandoned the little girl to her fate. "They never knew that I had gone to Puerto Rico," she said. "They thought that I was at home, or that I was with Jailyn, maybe somewhere else in another city." Candelario's parents had been traveling with her other daughter, who was 7 years old at the time. "The only thing I told them was, 'Go at ease, I'm going to stay here with Jailyn.'" She told them she wasn't up to doing anything during the vacation time. "That was all I told them," she said. In handing down the sentence,
You decided you needed a vacation. And what followed was absolute depravity. You left your baby, Jailyn, trapped in a pack and play without food and water for 10 days. This wasn't simply an oversight. You could have saved Jailyn's life many times. You could have found someone to watch her while you were gone. You could have taken her with you. While you were in Detroit or Puerto Rico, you could have called someone in Cleveland and told them that Jailyn needed help. Dr. Mooney indicated that rigor mortis was found when they found her, which means she didn't die that long before you came home. Think about that. Despite all of her suffering, that little baby persevered, waiting for someone to save her. And you could have done that with a simple phone call. Instead, I see photos of you on a beach while your child was eating her own feces in an attempt to survive. Photos mean something. And I'm well aware of mental health. but didn't look like you were too concerned about your child. As if that wasn't bad enough, you extended your stay in Detroit without regard to Jailyn, alone, in pain, clawing her face in distress from the exhibits I just looked at, trapped in a tiny prison that you left her in. When you got home, you knew enough to start lying. You concocted story after story, trying to hide what you did. You even put pants on her, but you couldn't hide the absolute horror and filth that she spent the last days of her life in. You still didn't get it. I hear this morning that you went out and managed to go out with someone that you were with, and he was too upset to eat, but you weren't. And then I hear that you're in jail and you're telling people, I can't wait to get home. I look at remorse. I hear, except for the acceptance of responsibility, no remorse. As a court, I have to remember Jailyn, where you did not. Just as you didn't let Jailyn out of her confinement until she died, so too, you should spend the rest of your life in a cell without freedom. The only difference will be that prison will at least feed you and give you liquids that you denied her. Based on all these factors, based on all the things I've looked at, and I'm marking this as State's Exhibit 1 for the court of order. On count 1, aggravated murder, I'm going to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On count 5, I'm going to sentence you to 8 years to run concurrent to count 1. I'm going to tell you, Kristel, this is probably one of the most difficult, horrific cases to listen to hear, and to see. And I can tell you that I appreciate the fact that the state of Ohio presented this matter in a professional way, and the defense has acted in a professional way.
The judge alluded to the members of law enforcement who showed up to the sentencing hearing and Dr. Mooney's testimony before telling Candelario, "You committed the ultimate act of betrayal, leaving your baby, terrified, alone, unprotected, to suffer the most gruesome death imaginable with no food, no water, no protection, and lying in her own feces," he said. "The evidence I've witnessed before this court shows that you simply chose not to be there for your daughter, simply because you wanted to have fun. You decided you needed a vacation, and what followed was absolute depravity." He continued to berate Candelario, telling her that she could have saved Jailyn with just a simple phone call, but chose not to. Rather, he said Candelario allowed Jailyn to stay trapped in a tiny prison that you left her in. "Instead, I see photos of you on a beach while your child was eating her own feces in an attempt to survive," the judge said. "It didn't look like you were too concerned about your child." Kristel Candelario was ordered by the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas judge to serve a sentence of life without the possibility of parole in the 2023 death of young Jailyn Candelario. Remember Jailyn's name and story, a precious life lost too soon, and let it motivate us to be more vigilant, compassionate, and proactive in protecting vulnerable children. Rest in peace, Jailyn. Remember, preventing child neglect is everyone's responsibility. By creating a supportive environment and advocating for children's rights, we can work together to protect our most vulnerable members of society. Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts and leave the comment below. We upload new videos every week. Click that like button and notification bell if you like the video. We appreciate you and take care.